In this video, I will show you how to create the movable control surfaces and lift increasing surfaces on the wings, such as the flaps and the ailerons, and as well as the spoilers. So first thing we're going to do is clean up the tip of this wing though, get rid of everything that's hanging / intersecting with the fuel tank. Okay. And I'm going to cut it on the ZX plane. This way, you only have to do this procedure once, and then everything can be reflected over to the port side, or to the starboard side. Now, to create the control surfaces, we need to sketch them based off of the drawing, and then we'll extrude our sketches, cut the wing with the extrusions, keeping both sides, and then we'll fill in the rest of the pieces from there. So we'll start with the ailerons. Hide the wing for now. And we'll leave just that extra piece hanging off the edge of the wing. Doesn't matter, we're going to cut it. As long as everything touches where it needs to touch. That's all that matters. And now splitting the wing, keep both sides, okay. Now we have this aileron piece. But we want to create a gap between the surfaces. So instead of that being the aileron, I'm going to offset the knife. And I have a large gap just to see if it's going in the correct direction. We'll change that to a smaller, maybe 1/8 of an inch or a 1/4 inch gap. And now we will call it the outer sketch. And the inner sketch or knife. And then we will cut the aileron with the inner part, not keeping both sides this time. We're going to get rid of the piece in the middle so that way we see a gap when we look at this and when it's all the same material. Similar to what we did with the cutout, the door cutout. But we're not going to put in a seal this time. So you can see a slight gap there. Continuing from there, again we'll enter a sketch on the XY plane. This time we're going to do the flaps. And that line along the aileron there, that's coincident with the aileron line. Make these parallel to each other. And then set that line along the drawing. and again another extrusion. We don't really need the part that's running along the aileron there. Probably better not to have it. So get rid of it. And just give us a little extra there to work with. Now we have our flap. We'll make, again, another offset surface to create the gap, similar to what we did with the aileron. You can see the gap there. Now I'm going to fill in all the edges here. Now there are two ways you can go about this, at least two ways. You can do the way that I'm showing here, where I'm closing off each face. And then making a fill. I was just showing there by clicking all the surfaces that you have to do them one at a time. Your other option is to cut the knives that we created, which are the extrusions, with this flat piece and just keep the inside portion. And that'll give you two of the sides. You would still have to fill in the third side where you didn't have a face to the knife. For example, between the aileron and the flap, there was nothing there. Well, I guess there, yeah. And we'll do the same thing with the flap or the aileron. Just add some lines to close out each face. Okay. Now I'm going to add the spoiler. We're going to use that front piece of the flap there as a construction object projecting into this plane. And then we'll cut, using this to cut our new sketch here. Looks suitable. Name it spoiler sketch. Now I'm creating a point here so we can create a plane on which to project that sketch, because we only want to intersect the top surface of the wing when we split it. The spoiler doesn't go all the way through the wing. So you can slow down the video and watch those steps closer if you need to. You could also project or put the sketch on a plane above the wing and then project the sketch instead of using extrusion down onto the wing and only use the first element. There's a checkbox where you could select. Just keep the first surface on which you project. And that would just give you the top surface of the wing. But here, it's another way to go about it. Your plane doesn't need to be exactly in the middle, it just needs to be above the bottom surface for where the spoiler is. And now we just have that panel there floating. We went through the same procedure with the gaps. And now I'll fill in the faces to the wing, closing edges. And we're just going to close off that whole back side. And go and use a fill on each of these sections. Don't have to fill in the outboard edge of the wing because the fuel tank is there. And we will join all those edges together. Not the spoiler though. That was not part of the drawing. And the same thing can be done with the flaps and the ailerons. You join all the edges of the aileron as one part. You join all the edges of the flap as one part, like I'm showing here. And then once you're done with all that, you can just use the symmetry tool to reflect everything over to the starboard side. And that is how we create all the movable surfaces for the wing. You can follow the same procedure to create the elevator and the rudder.